When a woman distances herself, the first reaction most men have is confusion, followed by fear. You start asking yourself what went wrong, what you said, what you could have done differently. But here's the thing, when a woman withdraws emotionally, it's not always rejection. Often it's a test, not in a manipulative way, but in a deeply instinctive one. She's observing whether your connection was built on real strength or emotional dependency. She wants to know, are you grounded enough to handle space, or will you crumble under uncertainty? In moments like this, your reaction says more than your words ever could. If you rush to chase, to fix, to explain, you communicate emotional instability. You show her that her absence has the power to disrupt your entire state of being. But if you remain calm, collected, and present within yourself, you communicate something far more powerful, emotional security. That kind of grounded energy speaks volumes. It says, I care, but I won't lose myself for connection. This test isn't about her trying to hurt you. It's about her seeking reassurance that she's with someone who has depth, someone who won't be swayed by momentary silence or emotional distance. Because real attraction, real connection isn't sustained by constant validation. It's sustained by emotional balance. So when she distances herself, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it breathe. Let her see that your worth doesn't waver just because her attention does. That kind of strength doesn't chase, it draws respect. And remember this, the moment you stop trying to prove your value, you start embodying it. That's when she sees what she truly has, and what she risks losing. When you start chasing after someone who's pulling away, you unknowingly hand over your power. It's one of the most common mistakes people make in relationships, mistaking movement for progress. The truth is, when you chase, you're no longer choosing from strength. You're reacting from fear. You fear losing her, so you try to hold on tighter. But that energy of desperation isn't attractive, it's repelling. It signals to her that your emotional balance depends on her response, and no one feels safe in that kind of dependence. Attraction is rooted in polarity, the dynamic balance between presence and space. When you hold your ground, when you stay calm in uncertainty, you radiate stability. That's what draws her in. Not the messages, not the calls, not the endless attempts to make things right. But the quiet confidence of someone who knows his value isn't determined by someone else's attention. Chasing doesn't just weaken your image in her eyes. It fragments your relationship with yourself. Every time you beg for attention, you're subconsciously telling yourself that you're not enough unless she validates you. And that belief will always keep you emotionally enslaved, so instead of chasing, pause, breathe, let her go if she wants distance, because the moment you stop running after what's slipping away, you create space for respect to return. And sometimes that's all it takes for her to remember what made her drawn to you in the first place. Power isn't found in pursuit, it's found in patience. And when you learn to master that, you stop chasing love and start commanding it. Silence is often misunderstood. Most people view it as weakness, as if the one who speaks louder has more control. But silence, when it comes from a place of emotional strength, is one of the most powerful responses you can give. When a woman distances herself, your instinct might be to explain, to defend, or to demand clarity. Yet in doing that, you surrender your composure, you let emotions lead instead of wisdom. Sometimes, the most profound message you can send is the one you don't verbalize. When you choose silence, you're not ignoring her, you're protecting your peace. You're saying, I'm available for connection, but not for confusion. That level of restraint communicates maturity. It shows you have control over your emotions rather than being controlled by them. And whether she admits it or not, she feels that shift, because silence forces reflection. It creates space for her to think, to miss, to evaluate what she's truly losing. Words can be easily dismissed, silence cannot. It lingers. It echoes in the back of her mind, especially when it's coming from someone who once cared deeply. That's why it's not about withholding affection or playing games, it's about demonstrating self-respect. When you stay silent instead of reacting impulsively, you teach her something important. Your peace is not up for negotiation. And here's the paradox: the moment you stop chasing answers, you start getting them. Because silence invites truth to surface. It reveals who's genuinely invested and who was simply entertained by your attention. So let your silence speak for you. Let it be the mirror that reflects your strength. Because in a world where everyone is busy talking, the one who can remain calm in silence holds the real power. When a woman pulls away, most men make the mistake of directing all their energy toward her absence. They obsess over the silence, the unanswered messages, the change in tone. But the truth is that energy needs to return home back to you. When someone withdraws, it's not an invitation to chase them, it's a signal to refocus. Every moment you spend trying to decode her distance is a moment you steal from your own growth. And the man who loses himself in the pursuit of understanding someone else's emotions always ends up empty. When she distances herself, it's your opportunity to realign mentally, emotionally, even spiritually. Start investing that emotional energy into self-improvement. Go back to your goals, your purpose, your peace. Because attraction isn't sustained by proximity, it's sustained by progress. When you evolve, you naturally shift the dynamic not through force, but through transformation. Women are not drawn to a man who waits anxiously for her attention. They are drawn to the man who remains focused, disciplined, and emotionally self-sufficient even in uncertainty. The moment you make her distance about your own evolution, you stop reacting and start leading. That shift in energy is powerful. It communicates that your identity doesn't depend on her presence. It expands beyond it. When your world doesn't collapse because someone took a step back, you become the kind of person people gravitate towards: steady, grounded, magnetic. So don't chase the distance, fill it with growth. Because when you redirect your focus inward, you stop trying to prove your worth to others and start embodying it. And the truth is, nothing reignites attraction more powerfully than the quiet confidence of a man who chose himself first. Emotional independence is one of the most misunderstood forms of strength. Many people assume it means being detached, cold, or indifferent, but it's the opposite. True emotional independence means being so centered within yourself that you can love deeply without losing your balance. It's not about building walls, it's about building roots. When your sense of peace doesn't depend on someone else's presence, you stop reacting out of fear and start responding from self-respect. When a woman senses that kind of stability, she feels safe. Not because you're trying to control the situation, but because you're grounded no matter what happens. That's the energy that draws her in the calm in your presence, the strength in your stillness. It shows that you're not seeking completion in her, you're sharing wholeness with her, and that difference changes everything. The problem is, most men confuse attachment with love. They think the more they need her, the stronger the bond. But neediness suffocates connection. It turns love into dependency. Real connection thrives when two complete individuals choose each other, not when one depends on the other to feel enough. When you master emotional independence, you no longer beg for love, you embody it. You no longer chase validation, you radiate it. And when a woman feels that energy, she naturally leans in because she sees in you what most people are missing: self-mastery. So remember this: the most attractive man is not the one who can't live without her. It's the one who can love her without losing himself. Because the deeper your sense of self, the more powerful your connection becomes. And that's when love stops being a game and starts being growth. When a woman ignores you or distances herself, your instinct may tell you to chase, to reach out, to fix what feels broken. But that's exactly when you must pause and do the opposite. The most powerful response you can give in that moment is absence, not as punishment, but as truth. Because if your presence once had meaning, your absence will have impact. When you pull back, she's forced to confront what life feels like without your energy, your consistency, your presence. And that realization is far more powerful than any words you could say. People often forget that presence is a privilege. The more you make yourself available to someone who's ignoring you, the less value your energy holds. Attention given too freely loses its worth, but when you withdraw gracefully, you create space for clarity, reflection, and recognition. She begins to feel the silence, not because it's cold, but because it mirrors her choices back to her. This isn't about manipulation, it's about emotional alignment. You're not pulling away to make her chase, you're stepping back to protect your dignity. Because the moment someone stops appreciating your effort, it's time to stop offering it. Let her experience the difference between your presence and your absence. That contrast is what awakens awareness. And here's the truth: if she values what you brought into her life, she'll return with respect. If she doesn't, then your silence saved you from settling for less. Either way, you win because you chose yourself over chasing uncertainty. So, the next time someone pulls away, don't fill the gap with noise. Fill it with power. Sometimes the loudest statement you can make is to walk away quietly and let your absence say everything.